FNAF Security Breach is the most recent installment in the Five Nights at Freddy's video game franchise, which I would assume you would know about this mess of timelines and murdered children, but somehow, in case you don't, here's a tiny recap. There's this purple man, and he stabs the children, then he pats himself on the back until his daughter was killed by the murder robots that he built, then he gets sad and then he dies, and he just won't go away anymore. And that's FNAF in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen. Come back next week where I describe the entire Bible in a record time of 3 seconds. I'll save you a little bit of time. Man dies. The end. FNAF Security Breach was honest to God one of the first times I was ever incredibly excited for a FNAF game since FNAF World. Yes, I was excited for FNAF World, fucking sue me. After FNAF Help Wanted soft rebooted the entire franchise, I was excited to see where they would take the story. No William Afton, besides Glitchtrap, but he'd be more of a background villain. I was more interested to see how they would deal with the fallout of all the major characters in the franchise perishing or no longer being active in the story. But they fucked it up. They fucked it up bad. As most of us who have seen Security Breach have seen, it's a buggy mess. Yes, they recently released a patch which fixed a large amount of bugs, but that doesn't fix the weird taste left in the mouth of all the people who played it on launch. But why is it so buggy? Was it rushed during development? Were there issues during the creation of the concept? Was the team all on different pages? The answer to all of those is yes. This game shows clear signs of being rushed, or at least having some scope too big for the time limit. Most games like this have some sort of time limit by the investors if they have any, and of course they had a contract with Sony for like the PlayStation, so basically they already determined when it was going to be released, whether the game was done or not, and it clearly wasn't. But that wasn't the only issue in Security Breach. I think one of the main issues that we have with this game is, in fact, it isn't one story. Whether it was Scott, the developers, or some third party, someone tampered with the story well into development. This is pretty obvious by looking at the trailer. I mean, come on. The trailer basically describes an entirely different game. The trailer opens from a monologue which is presumably from Glitchtrap talking to Vanny/Vanessa. The whole trailer is centered around Vanessa and Vanny, one trying to help Gregory, the other trying to hurt him. Yet in the final release of the game, Vanessa is only seen in the scripted parts of the game 6 or 7 times. She barely has a supporting role. Most people forgot about her halfway through the playthrough, only caring about Vanny, who appears even less frequently than Vanessa. You know, the main villain of the entire game appears 3 or 4 times and then just never again shows up. She rarely interacts with Gregory, and all of the endings where you beat her just feel empty because she's barely proven herself to be a threat, let alone the main villain of the game. The whole William Afton comes back again bit made 0 sense. It also ruins the whole concept I was excited for. Bringing him back, sure, he has his "I always come back" line, but I'm serious, his story is over. It's done. Ultimate Custom Night is his infinite hell for torturing and killing children. He is dead, gone, permanently. Replaced by a set of new villains, Glitchtrap and Vanny, which was so exciting for the series. Hell, they could have made it so that each game had a new disciple of Glitchtrap, and each one having a unique way of trying to trap or kill Gregory or whatever. But it could have been a new saga, a new era, but now it's an extension of a story which should have ended games ago. There's also the missing children. I don't mean the canonical missing kids, no, I mean the missing kids in the story. Where the fuck did they go? In every other game, missing kids are stuffed into the suits, their souls infused with the animatronics, creating new characters. But they just didn't mention this in the game. It's also brought up that the kids go missing here, but where? Where the hell do the souls go? Where do the kids go? There's almost no evidence of where the fuck they've gone. So with all of this, we can tell that something went wrong in the development part of the creation process. I think the main issue is that the game they wanted to do was too many things with too little time. Overall, the game is an example of not focusing your resources well. It's a buggy mess, a story mess, and overall a complicated mess to fit into the lore. And it kind of fucks over the new FNAF? Oh, fuck. It kind of fucks over the new phase of FNAF. Now, obviously, Security Breach hasn't killed FNAF. FNAF will probably be just fucking fine, but will it be a stain on the already kind of messy franchise? Yeah. Overall, a fun but interesting disaster. Not the worst thing ever, and if given more time, could have been amazing, but the resource management kind of failed in that department. So how do we fix it? Well, I have several ideas. First, I'm going to be looking at FNAF Security Breach and what it could have been, and then we'll look at how they can try and salvage Security Breach and the FNAF timeline that we already have. The Vanny and Vanessa fix. In this version of Security Breach, we would follow the trailer much closer Basically, in this version, you as Gregory have to survive the pizzaplex. Freddy is more neutral in this version. He sometimes vanishes for a mysterious amount of time, and other times he tries to help you. This time, however, after getting through a good chunk of the game, you find a radio. This radio being specifically linked to Vanessa. In this game, she isn't trying to capture you, she's trying to save you. She tries to convince you that Freddy is not who he seems and that he's tricking you. That if you stick with him, you'll eventually die, so it's best to come with her. Vanessa tries to get you to trust her by letting you get through specific locked doors that only she can open in the game. Out of nowhere, it sounds like Vanessa has been attacked and a new voice shows up on the radio. It's Vanny, telling you that it's too late for you and that she has set up like a bed for you to sleep this off and be let go in the morning. You don't believe her, and this leads to the first Vanny chase. The game from this point on is a game about choices. You can either trust Vanessa, abandoning Freddy, or leave Vanessa, making her look for you. However, it's assumed that she's murdered by Vanny during her search for you. Bit by bit, the bots get more and more aggressive, and there are two main paths that you can choose. There's Freddy's path. If you don't trust Vanessa and you only stay with Freddy, you'll break the other animatronics, upgrade Freddy just like in our security breach. In doing so, Vanny gets stronger and stronger, eventually breaking out the Horde, which is just a replacement for the Blob, which is an army of animatronics, each one with a dead kid inside of them, to explain that fucking plot point. And just because the Blob was referencing all of the previous FNAF games, there'll also be older FNAF animatronics from like FNAF 1, 2, 3, Sister Location, etc. And brand new animatronics with the new missing kids inside of them. Eventually you manage to escape the pizzaplex with Freddy, but Vanessa and Glitchtrap are still at large, and they have an army of animatronics. Vanessa's path is if you don't trust Freddy and go with Vanessa, she tells you all about the missing kids, about Glitchtrap, and she has a way to stop them. Instead of trying to escape, you instead go deeper into the pizzaplex, eventually reaching the VR machine that Glitchtrap is inside of. You have to eventually defeat Afton in a bunch of minigames, each one referencing a previous FNAF game, to defeat him once and for all. But before that happens, Freddy comes strolling in like, "Gregory, I haven't seen you anywhere. I was worried." Then bam, out of nowhere, Afton, who you thought was about to be destroyed, goes into Freddy and corrupts him. And now we have an Afton-Freddy combo, meaning we can have a badass purple Freddy with Afton's voice. I mean, how fucking dope is that as a fucking purple Freddy? Woo! Woo! Yeah, baby! You managed to escape with Vanessa, but now Afton has a body, in a way, as in Glitchtrap inhabits Freddy. And yeah, that's the Vanessa and Vanny trailer fix. How'd you like it? I think this would have been an absolute banger game if it happened. As for which ending is canon, Afton Freddy or Vanny Animatronic Army, I think both have such interesting and unique ways to end the game and continue to the next one that either one could be canon. I wouldn't really mind. They definitely wouldn't be able to make both canon unless they want to have the next game be like twice as long. And hell, the FNAF community wouldn't be anything without the, well, community, so why not make it like a community base? Like, fuck it, have a poll on Twitter, or even in the game itself, have a poll on which ending you would prefer to see be canon for the next game. Or have something track the endings, and whichever ending is the most common is the canon ending. It's a weird way to do it, but I think FNAF would thrive off of being weird, taking risks, because if you don't take some fun risks, nothing much will ever change with the franchise. Fix 2. Gregory is the villain. A popular theory or headcanon is that Gregory is secretly the mastermind, or at least a sociopath, as he tears up animatronics and slaps them onto his pal like it's nothing, lying straight to his face about where he got the parts from, and overall showing some pretty not hero-like behavior. This game would have had you, as the player, slowly break down the pizzaplex and all of its bots, while Freddy, unable to stop you because of his programming, simply kind of sits there and watches as his body changes and his friends are torn apart more and more for more parts to make him into the ultimate tool for Gregory to just use. A fun mechanic that could have been used for this game is specifically character swapping. I remember when Security Breach was still pretty secretive and we didn't have a trailer or anything, just some toy leaks, some people thought we'd be able to play as both Vanessa and Gregory. Honestly, I love that idea. So in this evil Gregory game, you'd be able to play as Vanessa through some sections and be able to see Gregory's actions from a third-person perspective, showing him more as the bad guy, or if that's too much, add like a New Game Plus, where basically when you beat the game, you can play through the game again, but as Vanessa, and you only see through Vanessa's eyes. It would be less of a new game, and more so just like, hey look, this is what it looked like when you were doing all those bad things. How would this game end? I am somewhat unsure, but I had a few smaller ideas, but I don't know which one would work, if any of them would. The first one is that Gregory is a robot that's possessed by Cassidy. Knowing that Afton isn't really dead, she follows him wherever he goes. I think Cassidy is a she. This would make sense as to why Gregory is so desensitized to these robot things. He was one for the longest time, and since the funky animatronics don't have a soul in them, Cassidy sees no issue with tearing them apart, which explains why Gregory is an evil little bitch. 2. Vanessa stops Gregory, ending up with either Gregory, Freddy, Vanessa, Vanny, or all 4 of them just fucking dying. Just gone. One of them gotta die. Fix 3. Welcome back again. In this fix, we're taking a more security breach-esque approach with the story. It's actually super close to the security breach we got, but with 2 main differences. Vanny is an actual threat, and Afton isn't being brought back. In this game, it's you and Freddy against Vanny with some added fear from the other animatronics, but Vanny seems unbeatable. She can insta-kill you in your human form and Freddy can't see her, so she can taunt you. Honestly, they should have used that aspect more in the main game. Anyway, this game goes pretty much like before. No real differences besides Vanny being the big bad at the end of the true ending. Vanessa is a little more present, but still very much a background character. This game would end with you burning down the Pizzaplex, like we do in an actual security breach, thinking that you've killed Vanny, just like in Security Breach, but no. You failed as... You'll see her again. I don't know, I just wanted to give her a parallel to Afton. Instead of saying, I always come back, it's... You'll see me again. And those are some of my fixes for Security Breach, what I think they could have done with the story, and there is actually one more fix I did that I have. It's a smaller one, and that fix is up on my Patreon, for my patrons of any tier. It would really help me out a lot if you could check me out there. I hope to do some more high quality content like this in the future. We'll get my mic fix soon. I'm kind of aiming for 1 video a week like this, so the animatics might slow down a lot. I apologize for that if you really enjoyed those, but I do want to try some more expansive content, maybe talk about some funny things. I don't know, I at least hope you enjoy hearing me rant, as I am a ranty boy. But now we get to the less speculative and more so worrying truth about Security Breach that we have today. Can it be fixed? Can it be saved? Or is it better for Steel Wool Studios to learn from their mistakes and move on and just make another game and make it better? Well, there's always the option of DLC expanding the game by adding onto it later, but if they're going to do this route to try and fix Security Breach, there's some things they need to do. Don't fucking charge for the fucking DLC. I do not care how big the DLC is, do not charge for it. No, bad Steel Wool, bad. If you release a buggy, messy game on release, that's like an auto veto to never release paid DLC to make the game better. I fucking swear, I don't think Steel Wool have done anything bad or wrong. They did their best for the game. I'm not blaming them for how the game turned out. They did their absolute best. I applaud them. They made such a good game for the time and resources they had. But if they make the DLC paid for, bro, I'm gonna commit an actual crime. Number 2, simple updates. Instead of DLC, they simply update the game, which they've already done once, making it automatically download, making the game better from behind the screen of an update, which would be a lot better than DLC trying to fix the damn game. Just patch whatever was left out back in and we should be okay. Games like No Man's Sky bounce back after such a terrible launch. I don't see why Security Breach won't be any different, as long as the team works quickly and fast and all around efficiently. I think the reputation of this game will never reach its height. It will probably never satisfy the audience which got hyped on the trailer as much as it could have. I doubt this game, even with updates, will ever be what the trailer really promised. As for now, I just hope that some updates can save this game, because honestly, even if I made this whole ass video, I hoped and still hope that Security Breach can catch its footing, because if it doesn't, the devs might get scared and go back to old FNAF, which is something the series does not need. Speaking of the series, we need to discuss the future of FNAF, like what comes after Security Breach, and honestly, I don't know. Are we going to have a direct sequel to Security Breach back with Gregory and Vanessa? I think that's honestly the best path they could choose. But they could just as easily reset the protagonist and the antagonist for a new game or a prequel. We never did see the first family diner. If they really want to use Afton, they could just use him there instead. Do I think the future of FNAF games is bright? No. Everyone was excited for Security Breach because it was supposed to kind of reset and refresh the franchise. Although people definitely enjoyed the game, I think overall it has made fans at least anxious about what's to come and if any of it's going to be any good. Personally, FNAF holds a special place in my childhood, and I would love to see it bounce back in a big way. Security Breach did excite and entertain a lot of people. It's not a bad game, it's just a messy game, and I just hope it gets fixes it needs to really thrive and get the appreciation that it deserves. I hope Steel Wool aren't discouraged from making more FNAF games because of this. I can't wait to see what everyone else has in store in the future. I just want to give my personal opinion on it and the games that I would have liked to have see it become. Everything here was really my own perspective, not yours, the viewer. So tell me your thoughts on Security Breach in the comments. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think of my alternate game ideas? Do they make the content better or oh so much worse? And as always, it's been a pleasure entertaining you. I hope you subscribe and stick around with the Anomalous family. And as always, Anomalies, I'll see you in the next video. If I don't see you there, I'll see you on the flip side. And if I don't see you there, I'll see you in the void. Bye-bye. Thank you to all my beautiful patrons who help support this channel. There's currently some extra content on there if you'd like to join. There's different perks depending on the tiers, including commissions and audible shoutouts. Speaking of which, Aaron and Ben, thank you so much for donating to my Patreon. I thank all my patrons. Thank you so much for helping me out. 3 more patrons, and I have to make a video about eyeballs. So if you want to see that, money.